Today, in episode 38 of Audacity to Lead, I'll share with you how to uplevel your positioning with a product. This episode is dedicated to celebrating my nation, Nigeria, my country. Do you actually know that the first TV broadcast in Nigeria and tropical Africa was on October 31st, 1959? Welcome to this episode of Audacity to Lead.
Nigerian heroes standing strong. Hold your head up all day long. This is for the hero, you and me. Hand in hand for destiny. We never give up until we see a better place for the kids to be. This is for the hero. This is for the hero. This is for you. A nation of heroes standing strong. Hold your head up all day long. This is for the hero, you and me. Hand in hand for destiny. We never give up until we see a better place for the kids to be. This is for the hero. This is for the hero. This is for you.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Audacity to Lead. My name is Daya Samuel and this is the podcast where I give you the courage and necessary insight to step out and lead with more influence. I'm in celebration mood today, celebrating my nation, Nigeria. And if you were a Nigerian listening to me right now, of course, I'm aware 80% of you are Nigerians listening to me right now. I want to say happy independence to all of you. Congratulations, Nigeria. Happy 55 birthdays. Did I say that? Happy 55 Happy 55 years, Nigeria. I celebrate Nigeria, and that's the reason why I'm playing this hero song for all of you who have given your heart out for this nation, who are passionate about this nation as I am. I want to say kudos to all of you. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Audacity to Lead. This is the podcast where I give you the courage and necessary insight to step out and lead with more influence. Today, I'll be talking to you about how to up-level your positioning with a product. And of course, this is one of the series that I've started all the way back from episode 32, where I talked about 5 ways to get started with platform-based leadership, how to attract your audience by designing a magnetic story, building a tribe around your leadership, how to design the solution you bring to your platform, discovering and developing the unique leadership style that you already have. And of course, the feedbacks from all of these episodes have been massively impressive. This one, let me read a couple of them to you. This one came in from Seun Ogunmola, who is a solutions evangelist at seunogumola.com.ng. He says, I follow you religiously. You are doing a great job helping folks create huge platforms out of nothing but recording devices. Kudos. Thank you, Seun, for sending that in. And this one came in from Tayo Akono. He says, hello, Dayo. The giant strides that you've steadily been taking are a great source of inspiration to me every day. God bless you non-stop. Thank you so much, Taya, for sending that in. And of course, if you listen to this episode right now and you follow this episode so far, you know I try as much as possible to bring value to you every time. To jump into today's episode, I want to lay a foundation. And of course, I'm talking to you about how to up-level your positioning with a product. The word up-level means to take things to the next level. And so, that said, I want to lay a foundation right here. And that foundation is that if you're launching a platform, whether as a speaker, coach, consultant, or whatever delivery models you choose, it is very important you understand what I'm about to teach you. First, it helps you manage the level of personal involvement you have with people, and then it helps you properly put people, your tribe members, where they belong. Now, this is where I have to give a caveat that someone doesn't have a monetary transaction with you doesn't mean it's not devoted to you or attracted to you. You may not have struck the right chord yet, so keep doing what you do and just keep improving on whatever it is you do. Now, I have to let you know that this episode is based on a framework I had previously taught on episode 29 of this podcast on 5 steps to building your authority, multiplying your influence, and generating income online. And you get the link to that and the free PDF that I actually gave out for that episode at audacitytolead.com/29, and you can get that right away. In fact, it will be better if you actually go for it right now and then get it, then you continue with this episode, because it's going to give you a lot of insider's view to what I'm about to share with you. Now, before I go on, I wouldn't know your level of technical expertise. So if for whatever reasons, whatever you learn from this or previous episode seem a bit technical for you, you seem to find it a bit challenging, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Or let's say you're trying to apply it to your podcast or apply it to your blog or any of your other platforms, don't just hesitate to reach out to me through my email, dayo@audacitytolead.com, and we can work together step by step through it. In fact, spots to work with me one-on-one are now open for the month of October. So if you're trying to get started with any of the online platforms I've taught so far, send me an email, dayo@audacitytolead.com, and we'll surely discuss. One of my very recent clients, Yinka Ajagbe of reallifestoriesng.com, who just recently launched a podcast, sent this in, and I want you to take a listen.
Hello, Dio. Thank you so much for yesterday. I just need to really thank you for what you did, for teaching me that, I told you yesterday, it's an investment that I will do over and over again, because it's something that I've always wanted to do. It's something that's always, and you made it so easy. Thank you so much for, and I decided to do this, to send it, so you would listen to it rather than read it. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Okay, welcome back. So today, I'm walking you through how to uplevel your positioning with a product. A couple of days ago, about 4-5 days ago, I was a guest on Fulfillment Clinic, a weekly Twitter chat by my friend Ikena Yekpa at Ikena on Twitter. I was invited on his platform to share this same platform-based leadership system I'm teaching you right now, that I've been teaching you over the couple of series so far. And I remember one of the things I shared was that no matter how much you know, until people are able to pay you, you don't have a business. I remember when I first started Audacity to Lead, and for a couple of months, I kept teaching, training, and all that. And I was wondering, will I ever be paid for any of these things I'm doing? Well, I didn't go too far before I learned a key lesson which I've started teaching to other people, which is, don't change your act, change your audience. A similar version of that statement could be, if your friends are not changing you, change your friends. So one of the things I realized was that I didn't have a solid positioning when I was getting started, which meant that all of my message was cluttered. People couldn't really say this is what Dio does or what Audacity to Lead is really about. Then second, I was speaking to an audience that didn't have the money to pay. They didn't have the cash to split with. Thank God for Victor Ekbobasi, who helped me realize this earlier on and many months into what I was doing, because I was practically oblivious to it until he pointed it out in one of our sessions together. Armed with these two tiny info, I was able to up-level my positioning. Now, I want to share with you, how did I do that? That's exactly what I want to teach you in this episode. Because if you are able to understand that your positioning is better with a product, then it makes it easier for you to actually create products. Now, first, I want you to understand what positioning is. Positioning is how you solve specific problems for your market or your audience or for your tribe. In my case, the problem I solve for people really is not that of potential to productive performance, like I used to say when I started. It was more of helping people who already have identified what they want to do with their lives or the direction they want their businesses to head, and push them to step out and lead with more influence. Now, you notice that that's exactly what I'm doing on this podcast in recent times, by giving you the courage and the necessary insight to step out and lead with more influence. Now, to do that actually requires you get on stage. That is, you step on a platform. Being able to identify the particular platform was the real issue, because people were logged in frames. By frames, I mean they were having mental frames that you can only do this and you can't do that. So, when I decided to really go with what's originally laid in my heart, people started popping up and raising their hands that they needed my services. So, I said that to say this. When you get your positioning right, you'll be better able to magnetize the right kind of audience. Yes, I'm aware if you design your story, you'll be able to attract a lot of people to your tribe. But those who will open their wallets to you will be only those who connect to your positioning. So it's very, very important you actually work on your positioning. Now, let's talk about product. Once people are attracted to your positioning, having a product to offer is the next best thing. Now, this may throw off some of you listening to me right now and say, Shebi, this is what God called you to do. Now, the question I usually ask is, what will happen? What will happen if your car stops running? Or let's say NEPA PHCN knocks on your doors, and then your kids are crying for attention. Let's even imagine you have a knock on your door and it's NEPA or PHCN rather, and prior to that time your car outside actually stopped working, and then while the PHCN man, the electricity bill man, is at your door, your child begins to scream for a particular attention, maybe for something he wants, and you're looking at them and say, you know that feeling? Now, the question is this: will passion pay for the bills? No, seriously, will passion pay for the bills? So, aside all of this that you have to pay bills, having a product is a way to build credibility fast. And here's exactly what I mean. When I wrote my first book, 47 Common Mistakes Nigerian Bloggers Make in 2014, there was an influx of people who wanted to have me teach them the right way to blog, since my book was about the wrong way and the mistakes people are making. So you know what I did? I actually created a product and called it Blog with Excellence, which was a 3-day online coaching class which took place on BBM. And I threw it out there, and before I knew it, about 71 people signed up for it, but I eventually admitted only 23 people. Now, I have to give you a little info on naming. Now, you notice the first book was 47 Common Mistakes Nigerian Bloggers Are Making. 47 Common Mistakes Nigerian Bloggers Make. And then the course is Blog with Excellence. Now, what changed from the Common Mistakes to Blog with Excellence is simply the name, because I saw that The book talked about the problem, it didn't offer the solution, or it offered some solutions, but people needed more hands-on experience, and that had to involve my personal, and that had to involve me. And so, based on the request for how to do it right, I now named it by the result. And you will remember on episode 27 of this podcast, I mentioned that when you are creating content that gets results, that you name it by the results you are trying to help people get. Now, if you want to listen to that, you can go to audacitytolead.com/27 and pick it and then listen to that. Now, let me get back to my story. So, I created a product called Blog with Excellence, which was a 3 days online coaching class, and it took place right on BBM. I think this was around May 2014 rather, and 71 people signed up. I admitted only 23 people. Now, I repeated the same process some weeks later, after I'd learned product launch formula from Jeff Walker. And this time, I really cut off a lot of the things I did wrong the first time. And guess what? I tripled my sales, even with just 18 people signing up. Now, I repeated this another time. Actually, about 5 more times at different price points. And each time I tried it, each time I repeated it, I failed the class. Now, what did I learn from all of this? Credibility. People were able to entrust their money to me. Now, once you're able to get your positioning right, it becomes easy for people to open their wallets to you. I think I need to repeat that to you again. Once you're able to get your positioning right, people opening their wallets to you becomes very, very easy. So let me share with you 4 ideas on how to up-level your positioning with a product that you can put to use right away. Now, these are questions that you actually need to take some time and think through and provide answers to, so that you can be effective with up-leveling, if that word actually exists. Up-leveling, wonderful. With how to up-level your positioning with a product. So first question is this: what is the ultimate result you provide? What is the ultimate result you provide? So from there, once you are able to clearly define, this is the ultimate result, this is the result, this is the most specific, like the big goal that you have for your client or for your listener or for your reader. Once you're able to identify that, then the next thing to ask yourself is, so what steps does your ideal client, does your ideal audience, your ideal listener, or maybe reader needs to take to get the promised result? Then you highlight those steps. Then the next is, what depth or level of personal involvement is required on your part to help them get these results? Now, by that, it means some of these want to directly require your personal involvement, and some of them will require just a little of your personal involvement. Some will require your personal involvement in a very intensive way. So you should be able to identify that and then categorize them. And then you come to the 4th question, which is, what price can you place on that value, the result you're providing? Now, I want to repeat that again. I said, what price can you place on that value, the result you're providing? Now, I had previously mentioned that this episode is based on episode 29. This particular episode you're listening to right now is based on episode 29, which is a framework I'd already developed for building your authority, multiplying your influence, and to generate income from your online platform. Now, I'm going to use that right here to walk you through these 4 steps, these 4 questions. So if you want to get that, remember to check it out, audacitytolead.com/29. It takes you directly to where to get both the podcast and the free PDF attached. So, what is the ultimate result that I want people to get from that particular episode or from that particular framework, from that particular system? Now, the ultimate result is to help you build your authority, multiply your influence, and to help you generate income from your online platform. Next question: what are the steps you need to take to get there? First of all, you need to clarify, which is to get clear on your group positioning, to define your core message, to be able to profile your perfect audience. Then the next step is to communicate, which is where you actually learn to captivate your audience and start educating your audience. Now, the third step is to create, which is where you actually start that blog, launch that podcast, engage the social media following or whatever platform it is you want to take. Now, the fourth is to actually commercialize. Now, commercializing simply talks about developing marketable learning programs and products, and of course, how you can turn whatever it is you're doing into something people can pay for, similar to what I'm teaching you with this episode right now. And then the last step of the 5 steps is to consolidate, which is where you actually develop a working system for your business. You learn to automate what you're doing so that you can free yourself out of some of them. Now, it takes us to the third question, which is what level of personal involvement will it require on your part? Now, based on the framework I've developed, you realize that the level of personal involvement on my part is like this. The podcast serves as the beginning of my involvement. For example, you're listening to me right now, and I'm taking my time to teach very well. And I'm taking my time to actually explain all of these things in details. Now, you can pick the podcast and listen, and then listen again till you actually get everything within the podcast. In fact, I've received a couple of messages, people telling me that they have listened to a particular episode 4 times, they've listened to a particular episode 5 times. Now, that's because I take my time to do the teaching very well. And of course, I get great guests who actually have a lot to offer you, and they walk you through all of these things and teach you in great depth. Now, this is so that anytime anyone has a question, I can simply refer them to a podcast that already has the answer. Now, to be practical, when someone asks me what a podcast is or how they can start one, do you know what I actually do? I send them to episode 17 of this show. I simply send them to audacitytolead.com/17, which actually, as at the last time I checked, has been downloaded, I think, close to 1,000 times, if not more by now. But then, each time anybody asks me a question about podcasts, like what is a podcast, how can I start one, I refer them to that particular episode. Now, let's talk about the pricing and the value, which is the fourth question. That is, what price can you place on the value you are offering, the result you are offering? Now, using this same podcast analogy, the more I have to be involved in the person's learning process, the higher the value, and of course, the need to introduce some price into the mix. You know what I mean? Okay, wait. Does that mean I don't do free consultations? Well, I actually do pretty well. But of course, you know that there's a limit to which I can get with anyone at any point. So, if the person now finally asks that, okay, can I have you personally teach me And then I tell them, yes, you can. And this is your investment. This is what it takes. So, if you put together these 4 questions and you're able to answer, and then you create a product to do this. Now, notice what you're doing. What you're doing is not just to create a product, not just to create a positioning. You're actually up-leveling your positioning with a product. Because if you have followed what I've taught you so far, you realize that your blog, your podcast, or whatever other platforms you choose to get started with is not just an investment for you. Like my friend John Obidi will say, it is a cash machine. So, this is where I want to bring this episode of the show to an end. Again, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. And to do a little recap, I've told you that positioning is how you solve specific problem for your market, for your audience, and for your tribe. And once people are attracted to your positioning, having a product to offer is the next best thing you can do. And then to up-level your positioning with a product, think of the ultimate result you provide, which is number 1. Number 2, think of the steps your ideal client, your ideal listener, your ideal reader, your ideal audience will need to take to get to the promised result. Highlight them in steps. Then think of what is the depth of the level of personal involvement required on my part. And then the 4th is, what price can you place on the value you're providing? Once again, if whatever you've learned from this or previous episodes in this series seem a bit technical and you will need me to help you with any of them, or maybe you're even thinking of applying it to your podcast or to your blog, don't hesitate to reach out to me through my email, dayo@audacity.lead.com, and we can work together step by step through it. And also, as a reminder, spots to work with me one-on-one are now open for the month of October. So if you're trying to get started with any of the online platforms I've taught so far, send me an email. Once again, I celebrate every Nigerian listening to me. Congratulations and happy independence. And of course, for the rest of this month, I'm celebrating Nigeria on this podcast. And the way to do that is to play a song about Nigeria for every single episode. Right now, I don't know the next song I'm going to play after this episode, but I trust that some of you may come up with ideas for the songs for me to play. Once again, I want to say thank you so much for being with me on this episode for this week. I look forward to having you again on the next episode. I trust that this episode has delivered some value to you. Remember to get focused, get started, and be impactful. I see you again on the next episode.